Shortly after Jussie Smollett was indicted today, Cook County Assistant State's Attorney Risa Lanier, she laid out the prosecution's case.
Defendant Smollett also stated he wanted the brothers to catch his attention by calling him an Empire F, Empire N. Defendant Smollett also included that he wanted Ola to place a rope around his neck, pour gasoline on him, and yell, "This is MAGA country." There was a change in the plan in that bleach was going to be used instead of gasoline during the simulated attack.
Our Just Facts joining us now to debate the impact of Smollett's elaborate ruse, allegedly. A. Scott Bolden, former chair of the D.C. Democratic Party, and Harmeet Dhillon, board member of the Republican National Lawyers Association. Welcome to you both.
Thank you.
Okay, so Mike had some information there from the lawyer, a partial statement from Smollett's legal team saying that there was a presumption of innocence. It was trampled upon today, Harmeet, by that 15-minute or so presentation from the state's attorney's prosecutor there, who detailed every sliver of evidence she says they have against him. His lawyers say not fair.
Well, only a defense attorney could say that laying out the facts is violating the presumption of innocence. The facts are facts, and the facts speak for themselves. Ultimately, a jury will judge whether he can claim an insanity defense or that it wasn't him. Use that defense, use the Shaggy defense, perhaps. But I don't know where you can go from this. This is one of the most damning situations that I have seen in the hate crime world, in the hate crime hoax world, and I don't see how it gets better for Jussie. Now, he's got great lawyers. Ben Brafman is certainly one of the best, and I'll be interested to see what their defense is going to be.
Yeah, and Scott, where do they go from here? Because there's talk that he could potentially face federal crimes, federal charges in, with the allegations of the mailing that came earlier, that he was responsible for that, allegedly. There's so much more, and that potentially he could be on the hook for the cost of this 23 days that the Chicago PD spent, all their resources aimed at this one thing, where some of that could have been spread out against, they've got a huge crime epidemic there in Chicago.
No question about it. Let's unpack a lot of your statement. The feds certainly are looking at whether there was mail fraud or wire fraud in this conspiracy for this hoax or this fake incident. That's the first thing. Secondly, he's looking at 3 years, and his penalty or fine, if he's convicted, would certainly be a large fine because of the resources the Chicago Police Department took to divert those resources to this issue, this celebrity, this high-profile matter. And I got to tell you, I grew up in Chicago. I was in Chicago that weekend. It was 10 below degrees, and it's hard to imagine someone getting mugged or jumped at 2 a.m. In downtown Chicago saying it's MAGA country. I looked at my wife early on and said, that doesn't make any sense, but we'll keep looking at it. But there's one thing or two things you don't do with the Chicago Police Department or Boston or anywhere else. You don't lie to them, right? You don't make them run, right? And you don't embarrass them. And all two of those three things occurred here. And so because it's a high-profile matter, the Chicago Police Department, the state's attorney's office in Chicago, they cross their T's, they dot their I's. Mm-hmm. It seems like a strong case. The defense could only be that these two individuals who were suspects, who are now witnesses against Jussie Smollett, that they're just straight up lying. And that's hard to believe. But, Brofman's a great attorney, and we'll see. Yeah,
I mean, innocent until proven guilty in this country. That's how we all operate thankfully, under our legal system. So we will watch and see. In the meantime, the police superintendent there was very angry about celebrities who had weighed in, other commentators, and he even pointed to the 2020 field of presidential contenders. Well, we heard from one of them today who initially expressed outrage over this alleged attack, Senator Kamala Harris. She's issued a statement now saying, like most of you, I've seen the reports about Jussie Smollett, and I'm sad, frustrated, and disappointed. She has some other things to say, but wraps up saying at the same time, we must speak the truth. Hate crimes are on the rise in America. Harmeet.
Well, let's talk about that, Shannon. The hate crimes reporting is certainly on the rise in the United States, but hate crimes against Jewish Americans are up 37% in this country in the last couple of years. And who are the purveyors of hate against Jews? I mean, some of the colleagues of Kamala Harris in the Congress and Senate in her party are purveying that kind of hate. I think the biggest victims here of this particular offense were, number one, Chicago, as Scott said. We agree on that. But Trump supporters have been absolutely slandered and vilified, and this is a tactic that the left has used. And one of the reasons why Kamala Harris and many other Democrats bought bought into this immediately is because it was a convenient way to slander and smear half of the United States with this outrageous and despicable lie. She was having lunch today with the biggest, race hustler in the United States, and he was he's a perpetrator of the Tawana Brawley scandal and others. So I don't think she's in any position to give any lectures about hate crimes with the company that she keeps.
Well,
Yeah,
I don't really
quick final word, Scott.
Well, I don't really think that her politics or her statement said all that. I think she was apologizing and saying, listen, this lie was despicable. This alleged criminal act in this story was despicable. Let me ask you this. What was fake, or what indicated with any network, if you will, that this was a fake story? You had a celebrity.
Scott, you yourself, though, said it was a polar vortex below zero.
Hey, Scott, Chicago is not MAGA country.
A lot of people don't think of Chicago as MAGA country.
Chicago is not
but
MAGA country.
Listen,
Exhibit
A.
We still have a lot of questions.
I don't
and
mind
again,
two on one, but just let me finish a quick thought here.
Okay, but make it quick.
Okay, that other than his story, you had nothing else to go on. So I'm sure this network and other network reported the story. Now, the politicians and the celebrities who supported him, sure, they got behind him because there was no reason to believe that this was a fake story until it started to unravel. So I don't blame them. And we do have hate crimes that are on the rise. We do have violence at MAGA rallies. So we can't be in denial on that.
Okay, but again, to paint an entire, a half or a third of this country as bad people because of the hats they wear, I think that's very dangerous for everybody involved.
I agree with you. I don't think that at all.
We got to leave it there. All right, Scott and Harmeet, great to see you both.
Thank you.